Hello learners, this is Excel with Habeeba. Let's start with the new series of philosophy, that is philosophical foundation of education, with the topic relationship of education and philosophy. Before starting up of the relationship, let me briefly introduce you with the terms philosophy and education. Philosophy first, there is a combination of two Greek words, that is philos plus sophy, that means love plus wisdom. That is, philos means love, sophy means wisdom. Etymologically, that means the love of wisdom. Now, philosophy studies the questions, whatever questions arises, maybe in the philosophers or maybe the individuals, they find out for any solution. That is, the study of questions is philosophy. Philosophy is the study of general and fundamental problems concerning matters such as existence, why we are having this existence, what is knowledge, truth, beauty, law, justice, what is valid and what is not valid, studying about the mind and language. Moreover, philosophy is the rationally thinking of a more or less systematic kind about the general nature of the world. Now, philosophers always ask few questions. What are those questions? Let's understand here. Who are we? They start questioning themselves and try to find out the solution. Is there a higher existence that determines our existence? That means somebody is there above us. That is maybe God, whether God is there or not. To find out these kind of answers to the questions, the philosophers try to find out things. What is the relationship between nature and human beings? How this nature has existed? What is the relationship between the nature and the human being? They start thinking about all these and they do researches. Now, what is the meaning of life? Are our senses reliable in telling us about the truth of the universe? How do we get to know about the world? What is the relationship between the mind and the body? What is the happiness? What is virtue? What is the relationship between individual and the collective together? How can we organize a society and an economy that promote the common good? What method should we employ to find out truth from false statements? Can we ever hope to find out the truth of our existence? These are all the questions arises. Even in the minds of individuals also, these questions arises. So philosophers always ask these questions and try to find out the answers, maybe from Vedas or whatever practical things they do encounter. Now, philosophy can be defined as the fundamental nature of knowledge, reality and existence. Now, in the case of education, one's philosophy is the what one believes to be true about the essentials of education. Now, what are the branches of philosophy? Let's see here. First is metaphysics. That is what is beyond thinking. Metaphysics is what is beyond matter. That is the study of questions concerning the nature of reality or our existence. That means what kind of questions comes from these metaphysics? What exists or what is real? That is the question arises here. Now, epistemology, epistemology is the studying of knowledge. Epistemology is knowledge. The study of the nature of knowledge and how these are attained and how these are evaluated. Now, what are the questions related to this knowledge? What is true and how do we know? These are the questions arises in this branch of philosophy. The third one is axiology. That is the study of the question of value. What are the values? That is deals with issues of value, that means ethics or morals. Now, what is what? That is a question arises from this axiology. Where do values come from? Only from our parents or ancestors. from where do this come? That question arises in this branch of philosophy. How do we justify our values? How do we know what is valuable? What is the relationship between values and knowledge? What kinds of values exist? Can it be demonstrated that one value is better than another? Who benefits from values, etc.? All these questions arises in this branch of philosophy. Now let's see the definitions here. Simple definitions I have taken here. Philosophy has been defined variously by scholars and thinkers. What Aristotle has given here, let's see. Philosophy is the science which investigates the nature of being as it is in the itself. What about Dr. Radhakrishnan? Let's see here. Philosophy is a logical inquiry into the nature of reality. Now etymologically, let's understand now about education. We understood briefly about philosophy. Now let's see education. Education has been derived from the Latin words educare, educer, educatum. These are the three terms from where this education has been derived. Latin words. What is educare here? To rise up or bring up or nourish. It indicates that the child is to be brought up or nourished keeping certain aims and ideas. Now educer. What is educer? To lead out or to draw out. In this regard, education through its process draws out of the best what is inside the child. That means in schools, what do the teachers do? They already, children come with lots of knowledge. But what is the role of the teacher here? To bring out what is inside them. Now the third term is educatum. That indicate the act of teaching or training. It throws light on the principles and practice of teaching. It means educating the child or provides training facilities to the child for his or her all-round development. Now the term educare or educer mainly indicates development of the latent faculties of the child, but child does not know these possibilities. It is the educator or the teacher who can know these and take appropriate methods to develop those powers. Now in Indian language, education means shiksha, that is derived from the Sanskrit verbal root, that is shash. Now what is the meaning of shash? Shash means to discipline, to control, to order, to direct, to rule, etc. Education in this sense means controlling or disciplining the behavior of an individual. In Sanskrit, Siksha is a particular branch of Sutra literature which has 6 branches, that is Shiksha, Chanda, Vyakarna, Nirukata, Jyotisha and Kalpa. These are the 6 branches. Now the Sutra literature was designed to learn the Vedas. Now Shiksha denotes rules of pronunciation, how to pronounce. That is another term in Sanskrit which throws light on the nature of education is Vidya. That is Vidyalayam or Vidyalaya, we call the school as Vidya, which means knowledge. The term Vidya has originated from Vid. That means knowledge, to know, acquire knowledge. Hence education in broader sense is any act or experience that is has a formative effect on the mind, character or physical ability of an individual. Now in its technical sense, education is the process by which society deliberately transmits its accumulated knowledge, skills and values from one generation to another. So these are the 2 broad sense and technical sense related to education. Now education is used or utilized in 3 senses. How? That is knowledge, subject or process. Now generally speaking, education is utilized in 3 I said, that is knowledge, subject and process. When a person achieves degree up to certain level, we do not call it education. As for example, if a person has secured master's degree, then what happens? master's degree, then we utilize education it a very narrower sense and call that the person has achieved education up to master's level. Now, in the second sense, education is utilized in a sense of discipline. As for example, if a person had taken education as a paper or as a discipline during his or her study in any institution, then we utilize education as a subject. That is one discipline. Now, in the third sense, education is utilized as a process. That is, in fact, when we talk of education, we talk in the third sense, that is education as a process. Thus, we talk what is education as a process, what are their importance, etc. So, these are the three terms where education is utilized. That is education as knowledge, education as subject, and education as process. Now, focus of education. Now, what is the focus of education here? That is learning to know, learning to do, learning to be, and learning to live together. These are the main focus areas of education. That is imparting education to the children. Now, 21st century's focus should be learning to know, learning to do, learning to be, and learning to live together. Now, what are the definitions of education here? Education is the creation of sound mind in a sound body. It develops man's faculty, especially his mind, so that he may be able to enjoy the contemplation of supreme truth, goodness, and beauty. Now, this is given by Aristotle. Now, what Aurobindo says, education is helping the growing soul to draw out that is in itself. What is in itself, we have to bring it out. That is education. Now, the main topic here, the relationship between philosophy and education. Let's see here. These two are closely interrelated and interdependent. That means these two are interdependent, without which one is meaningless. Now, philosophy points out the ways and education follow it. The application of general philosophical positions to educational problems is known as philosophy of education. That means applying the philosophy in education is educational philosophy. Now, Ross has given definition, a very nice definition. If we see it in elaboration, we will understand very easily. Philosophy and education are two sides of same coin. That is, the former is the contemplative side, while the later is the active side. Education is the process and philosophy is the product. That means through education, we will be able to solve the problems. Whatever situations come, through the knowledge we solve. All educational problems are questions of philosophy. In other words, we can say that the application of philosophical principle in the field of education to solve various educational issues is regarded as educational philosophy. In fact, educational philosophy is that philosophy which provide answer to the educational issues of why to educate. That means what is the aim of this education, whom to educate, that means the child. Then what to educate, that means the teacher, what they will educate. Where to educate, that means the school, in the school. Now what to educate, that is prescribed curriculum. How to educate, there are different methods of educating the children. So that is how to educate. Then when to educate, that is to give motivation to the child, that is when to educate, and so on. Further, a sound philosophy of education is based on an adequate philosophy of life. A best definition, if we thoroughly understand this definition, all our questions will be solved related to the philosophy and education. Now, the view of John Dewey endorses the viewpoint of Ross when he says philosophy is the theory of education in its most general phase. Now, dependence of education on philosophy, let's see here. Philosophy determines the real destination towards which education has to go. Where education has to go, the real destination this philosophy shows. Now, philosophy determines the various aspects of education. Then philosophy is great philosophers have been great educationists also. That means both are dependent on each other, philosophy and education. Now, dependence of philosophy on education, that is, education is the dynamic side of philosophy. There are n number of things to be known through education, that is of philosophy. Now, means to achieve the goal. So, philosophy is the means to achieve the goals of education, and also education is the means to achieve the goals of philosophy, vice versa. Now, what are the aims or objectives of studying educational philosophy? Quickly, let's understand here. Philosophy deals with the most basic issues faced by human beings, obviously. Then the content of philosophy is better seen as asking questions rather than providing answers. It can even be said that philosophy is the study of questions, as I have explained earlier. Now, let's see the main aims here to find out the solution for various educational issues. For example, why the children are not studying, or taking any research related to the problems of the children. That is action research we take for solving simple problems of school matters or classroom matters. Now, the purpose of studying educational philosophy is to make education according to the need. That means according to the need of the child or the children, according to the situation, this is taught. Then, even based on the life and also society. Obviously, the children, the future citizens have to live their happy life. For that, we need to inculcate some values among them, and also problem solving techniques should be adopted. That's why this is helpful. Educational philosophy is helpful. And also to determine the aim of human life, aim of survival. Then to produce better citizen by fostering democratic attitude in behavior. That means they should solve their problems by themselves, not depending always on somebody, maybe teachers, parents, or somebody, friends, or their peer groups. So they should take their decisions on their own. This will help it. Now, to make teaching learning process more effective and attractive according to the need and interest and ability of the child also. Then to discern the different philosophies and choose any one of them to lead a fruitful life in the society. To expand our knowledge and experiences and implement them in the educational practices. Then to bring out all-round personality development in the child and prepare him or her to stand or on his or her own feet. Now, to make education flexible in order to achieve the goals of country-national integration. Then, international understanding and globalization. Lastly, to develop education as a powerful instrument to bring about social, cultural, political, and economical change in the society. These are very, very important aims. Now, what is the scope of educational philosophy? Let's quickly have a glance here. The scope of educational philosophy is the study of all those aspects or schools of philosophy which are important from the educational point of view. Thus, it is philosophy in the field of education. The scope of philosophy of education is concerned with the problems of education. Now, these problems mainly include, first, interpretation of human nature, the world, and the universe and their relation with human beings, that is man. Then interpretation of aims and ideals of education, the relationship of various components of the system of education, then relationship of education and various areas of national life, that is economic system, political order, social progress, cultural reconstructions, etc. Also, educational values. There is a scope in the improving the educational values of the human beings or the children. Now, the theory of knowledge and its relationship to education we will understand through this educational philosophy. The above mentioned problems constitute the scope of philosophy of education and explain its nature. Thus, the scope of philosophy of education includes the following. Number one, aims and ideals of education philosophy. Now, what is that? Education critically evaluates the different aims and ideals of education. Secondly, interpretation of human nature. That is, a philosophical picture of human nature is a result of the synthesis of the facts borrowed from all the human science with the values discussed in different normative sciences. Next one is educational values. As we discussed, value is the typical philosophical subject since it is more abstract, integral and universal. Philosophy of education not only critically evaluates the values but also systematizes them in a hierarchy. Now, theory of knowledge. Education is related to knowledge. It is determined by the source, limits, criteria and means of knowledge. Then relationship of education and various areas of national life and various components of the system of education. Now, one of the most important contributions of the philosophy of education to the cause of education is the provision of criteria for deciding the relationship of state and education, economic system and education, curriculum, school organization and management, discipline, teacher-pupil relationship, methods of teaching, textbooks, etc. These are very, very important things we need to understand. Now, what are the functions of educational philosophy? Philosophy of education performs various functions. These are discussed below. Number one, determining the aspects of education. Now, what are the aspects of education? Aims of education. We will understand clearly about the aims of education. Why this education is important. Why we are imparting education to the children. We can determine through this educational philosophy. Then curriculum, then methods of teaching, discipline, teacher and student, administration, etc. Next one is harmonizing old and new traditions in the field of education. This is a very important function of educational philosophy. That is, we have the traditional things and also new things which we adopt. That is, there is a need of coordinating the two in order to maintain the harmony between both. That is, old traditions and adopting new things. This function can be performed by philosophy of education. For example, the crisis of Indian culture, that is Indian and Anglican, the East and West cultures, both. People are adopting Western culture, then how to preserve our tradition is also very important here. It tells how the cultural tradition of the country is to be maintained through this educational philosophy. That is the function, through this function of the educational philosophy. The third one is providing the educational planners, administrators and educators with the progressive vision to achieve educational development. That is, Spencer has rightly pointed that only a true philosopher can give a practical shape to education. That is, philosophy of education provides the educational planners, educators and administrators with the right vision which guides them to attain the educational goals efficiently. The fourth one is preparing the young generation to face the challenges of the modern time. That is, society is not static. It is dynamic, ever changing. It changes its values, tradition, custom, culture, etc. We have moved forward from various things and various levels of our life here from time to time. Social commentators have given many labels to the present period of history. For some, it is the information age, and for others, it is post-modernity, later modernity, high modernity, or even the age of uncertainty. We don't even understand what will happen next. We are coming to the generation of digital world or robotic, AI, artificial intelligence. That's why we need to prepare ourselves and also our future generations here. One more addition to this list may be that present age is an age of globalization as the phenomenon arrived on the economic scene in the 1990s in India, the whole world is interconnected with each other, that is globalization. This watchword has had its implications in the social, political, economic fabric of the country of which education is a part. Philosophy of education is a guiding, steering and liberating force that helps young people to and society at large to face the challenges of the modern time. It helps the individual to understand the relationship between his goal and day-to-day routine work and develop critical attitude towards life in diverse society. Our nation is a diverse country, and even the world, we can say that in large diverse world. Everybody has their own customs and traditions and values. Coping up with all these things, we need to prepare our future generations to tackle things whatever comes in future. So this is all about the foundation of philosophy. One simple topic, that is relationship between philosophy and education. I'll come up with the Western philosophies in the next class. Until then, if you like the class, please do like, share, subscribe and comment below. Why I bring notes and also why I read and explain, because few people like to listen and few people like to read. Those people who want to read can pause and I have brought a excellent content here. So it will be very helpful and very easily understood also. That's why I do read or explain, and also here I have given each and every word which you can read by yourself by pausing it and understanding things. If you like the video, please do like, share, subscribe and comment below. Thanks for your attention and time. Happy learning.